Welcome back. Now, it's been Economy Week in the campaign, with both Labour and the Conservatives unveiling their spending plans. But how much of what they're saying is actually sinking in? And if it is, then what is sinking in? Well, Sky's Deputy Political Editor, Sam Coates, is teaming up with the polling company YouGov this election to try and spot the trends, test what's working, and give us that bit of insight into what might happen. And he joins us now. So, Sam, Economy Week, we've heard from both the Chancellor, Sajid Javid, and the man who wants this job, Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell. What's been going on?
So, the Labour Party have said that if they enter Downing Street, they will spend £55 billion a year more on public services. The Tories are also going to spend more, £20 billion a year, a bit of a reversal of their historic fiscal conservatism, austerity message that they've had since 2010. So let's see what's cutting through. Together with YouGov, we've partnered for this election campaign. We asked the public what they believed would happen to the economy depending on who won. So the first question we asked was, if Labour formed a government, do you think that spending would be the same, go up or go down, of the Labour Party? Right. Overwhelmingly, you can see from these numbers that people believe spending will go up. More than 50% believe that, with only a tiny number thinking that it'll go down, but roughly 1 in 5 saying they don't know. But clearly that message has broadly got through. If you break down how much you think that spending is going to go up by, then 35% say that basically spending is going to go up by much more. So that key Labour message has got through to quite a lot of members of the public. Now, more interestingly is the Conservatives. Why is it more interesting? Because their message is a new one, because they have effectively reversed their position in the 2010, 2015 election, and even in 2017 they had those tough fiscal rules. How many people have realised this? Well, if you look at it, only 30% of the population do think that the Tories will increase spending, turn on those spending taps, a message that Boris Johnson wants to hammer home. And there's a lot of confusion. A quarter of them think it won't increase or stay the same. Nearly a quarter of the population think it'll go down, and again, 1 in 5 don't know. So I would gently suggest that suggests that the Tory campaign has quite a long way to go to deliver. You know, there's no way the economy isn't going to be one of the biggest reasons why people turn out and vote in a particular way at this election. So they've got some journey to go. It's
interesting, isn't it? Because as you were saying at the beginning, yes, Labour's spending plans involve more money, but both parties are talking about some pretty hefty sums. I mean, there's taps are coming back on. And you're right, if you say this, I mean, the Chancellor do it themselves, don't they? You can see Labour here. Absolutely, people think that they're going to spend more. And then over in the Conservative corner, a much more of a split message. I mean, how worried do you think Boris Johnson is going to be if he has a look at these two graphs here?
Well, I think that there'll be some concern. They need to work on those don't knows and really work on those people who think they'll cut spending. There's a problem here for the Conservatives. Some people might have not heard the message yet, but given the Tories' record back since 2010, some people might have heard the message but not believed it. That's why we asked the question in this way: do you think that they will do what they say? So some work for CCHQ, Conservative headquarters, from this. We also asked whether or not they thought that Sajid Javid should be Chancellor or John McDonnell. We made a sort of forced choice, as it were. And Sajid Javid comes out ahead, 22% of the vote, John McDonnell on 13%. But look at this graph. Really? This is a bit of a plague on both of your houses, because neither comes out ahead at 36%, don't know at 29%. So
endorsement, is it really?
I feel like that's a big shrug of the shoulders from the electorate about both choices. There's some particular... Now, we are able to break down those numbers depending on by the way that people voted in 2017. And we discovered that in 2017, people who voted Tory in 2017, just 31% of people who voted Labour in 2017 want John McDonnell as Chancellor, compared to 50% who voted Tory who want Sajid Javid. So even people who are able to put an X in the box for Jeremy Corbyn to become Prime Minister appear to have some doubts.
And why do you think that is? It's quite interesting, isn't it, that even among Labour supporters, people who are naturally perhaps voting Labour the last time round, they have some concerns about John McDonnell. I mean, do you think that is perhaps because people are worried about Labour spending too much? I mean, we were looking at the graphs earlier, weren't we, where people really believed that Labour were going to spend considerably more money?
It's interesting. Broadly speaking, people do want more spending on public services. That's what Labour are promising, more than the Tories. And yet still there is some doubt. So I think that is an interesting question to delve into in the weeks ahead. And really that brings us to sort of the last big area. The question that everyone keeps asking, where are we? Now, here is voting intention. This is YouGov's voting intention going back to 2016. There's a big picture here, which is around the time that Boris Johnson became Prime Minister, the Tories basically got back quite a healthy poll lead. And in the last YouGov Sky voting intention, that lead is at 11 points, which is, you know, should put the Tories on course for a majority if that's where we ended up in 5 weeks' time. But if you look at the next screen, you can see, you know, YouGov are one of a number of polling companies. If the Tory lead is 11 points in YouGov, it goes as high as 16 in some polls and as low as 7 in others. That means there's a huge amount of volatility. And I think the message more than anything else to sort of ram home at the moment is there is uncertainty on both sides' Brexit plans. It's not clear that either of their detailed plans are desperately popular with the public. There is clearly a long way to go on the argument over the economy. The economy and Brexit clearly going to be two of the biggest things in this election, and there is big variation in the headline voting intention polls at the moment. That would suggest that nothing is a done deal. The Tories might have wanted this election because they were keen to get on and maybe try and defeat Jeremy Corbyn, but it is not yet clear that anybody knows what's going to happen on December the 12th.
And do you think that means, as it did in the last election that Theresa May called, do you think that means that the campaign matters perhaps more than ever?
I think it does. One of the interesting features about this campaign is that effectively you have two big new figures who are both fresh on the political scene. Boris Johnson, who, although a familiar figure, well known, needs to introduce himself to the public as Prime Minister, making promises. People have to decide whether they believe him. Jo Swinson, who also is new, was elected over the summer as Liberal Democrat leader, needs to introduce herself. And one of the big dynamics of this election is the battle between the Labour Party and the Lib Dem Party for the Remain voters, people who voted Remain in 2016. That could actually end up determining who ends up going in number 10 on December 13th.
Fascinating stuff. Sam, thank you so much for doing all the research and for coming on to explain to us just how much the campaign is going. I certainly feel a little bit more that I've got an insight into it, so thank you very much.